Here we are
Hey, sweet
again.
Stacy.
Hi, thanks for joining again.
Oh, thanks for having me on a day where I'm feeling cranky.
I know it's all good. I was seriously gonna say, okay, we're gonna like now talk. Had before mentioned talking about the dogs and
Right.
that because of Minnie having cancer, and we got something much bigger happening right now for us.
City on
City
fire.
on fire, the
Jeez.
apocalypse. Which I figure we might as well jump into that because obviously it is affecting so many people out here.
And my eyes today, too. Are your eyes bothering you?
They were yesterday, and I've tried not to go out, but I had to run an errand. So when I went out yesterday, I was wearing the mask, but then I could feel it when I came back. And Connor had just gotten over like having whatever that new flu is.
Yeah.
And apparently, a side symptom of that flu is you can get conjunctivitis along with it.
Great.
So he started thinking he had eye issues. So I'm all paranoid now, going, what is going on with my eyes? But I realized it's because we have ash
Yeah, my eyes are,
falling
oh,
like
it's awful.
snow from the sky.
Well, I've got a convertible. So my
Yeah.
roof, I close the door and, like from just the bang, a
Poof.
little like goes that thing. It's like,
A little
jeez.
like cloud over it. And
Oh,
the thing I don't get is going out yesterday and driving and looking is just people that are not wearing masks. Just like it's like, oh, it's just another day. I'm going out for a walk. I'm like, do you guys not see the brown cloud going over?
yeah, it's
Because
bad out
it's
there.
it's ash. It's sadly it's people's homes, it's people's possessions, it's smoke, everything that is probably going to end up killing us at one point.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I've been working on my yard and
mhm.
just breathing that dirt in. Of
Mm.
course, on like, what was it, the fourth day, I was like, oh, I should wear a mask. Freaking
I
idiot.
know. I looked out there. I was like laughing at Phil and Connor. Like, what's going? I said, Peter looks like Pigpen from Charlie Brown out there. Look at it. He just has this cloud of smoke all around it. And I'm like, man, get wear a mask. And then when I was coming out to yell at you, you would put one on in the
Right.
front yard. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness he's now covered. But now we have all of this
I know.
happening out here, and it's scary. And I don't know about you, we've just been getting like calls and texts from people all over because everybody's like, hey, are you guys okay? How's it going? Because normally when we have these events, California is a very big state
Yeah.
and Los Angeles is a very big county. So it's usually just a small section. They don't realize how far apart we are. But in this instant, we are, as of last night, it was the Hollywood fire, which they were calling the Sunset Fire, which started making me feel like we're getting boxed in
We are, because it's
because
all around
it's
us.
all around us because there's the Pacific Palisades fire, which is to our west, and then we have the one that's hitting Pasadena and the Arcadia, that's to the east of us, and then all of a sudden,
To the south of
we had
us.
Silmar to the north, and then to the south we had
Well, and
Hollywood
then the
and Studio
Whitsid in
City.
Ventura, which is really close to
Yeah.
us.
And I actually had a friend that just got evacuated. So I feel like everybody's asking if we're okay. We're like, yeah, but also getting those texts from friends and people we know. Like, sadly, a handful of our friends have lost their homes because they were in the Palisades and they were in the Arcadia area, Pasadena. And most, like, probably a third of our friends have been evacuated.
Well, this is not funny, but it's very Hollywood. So I'm talking to a camera woman that I know,
Hmm.
and she's, so the people she knows are the Pacific Palisades rich
Hmm.
people kind of thing. And then you've got your poor people, who someone else I work with, who is in the Pasadena area, who was evacuated, and they're like freaking trying to find a place to stay or,
Hmm.
a shelter. My friend, whose friends are the Pacific Palisades people, she's
Hmm.
like, "Oh my God, what are your friends doing?" She goes, "Oh, they checked into the Four Seasons Hotel. They're having martinis." I'm like, "Wow, like that's Hollywood. Like,
Yeah.
people that have that kind of money, they can do that."
They can go and do that. And then people I know that are at the opposite spectrum, that are
Exactly.
like in the Pasadena Arcadia area or Silmar, it's like, well, where do we go? Like,
Right.
which venues, which convention centers, who's opened up doors to basically take people in because they had nothing and this is their home. And it's it's really frustrating when people, and we all know like political climates are different, do not even want to get into that. But when it becomes where people are like, well, it's California, and they start looking to finger point and they start looking to lay blame when that is the least of what anybody should be doing. Someone lost their home. And I was thinking the last couple of days, I'm like, just take 1 second out of your day. Actually, no, take 30 seconds out of your day. Stop. Think about, look at everything around you that you have, your home. In an instant, you're told, pack your stuff, get out. What are you going to take out of everything you've curated that you've worked your whole life for? What are those things that you're going to grab and go?
Your dogs.
Yeah, it's like your dogs. Like I've got my bug out bag for the dogs. That was the first thing I put together. It was for them. It's like I barely have anything for me, but now I need to start thinking about that and putting it together. But you grab that stuff and you leave, and in your mind, it's like I may not be coming back to anything, and
Yeah.
that's what's happened to a lot of people. So for people to be like, oh, well, California, well, maybe I'll deserve this or yada yada. I feel like that's a really there's a special place in hell for people that want to look at it that way and not be able to have a little bit of empathy and put yourself into the position that everybody is in, because I didn't hear any of us or anybody, you know, going, oh well, all those tornadoes that just destroyed all those little cities in the Midwest, well, I guess Kansas deserves it. No, you
Or
don't.
Florida.
Or Florida, or the hurricanes hitting North
Yeah.
Carolina, did New Orleans deserve Katrina? No, no one deserves this. And it is clearly a climate issue.
Right.
And things are changing. Frankly, I keep saying it's Mother Nature giving us all the finger.
Did,
Basically, she's like, you're not taking care of me, so
did you see that old couple? Oh my God, I was like, the guy kept breaking down during the interview on
oh,
the news. Lived in this house 60 years. They've lost everything.
mm-hmm,
Everything. Like,
mm-hmm.
he's like 60 years in this house. He was
Yeah,
like
and
an
it's
old
it's
guy.
people that's been all they've known, and they're at retirement. So what's going to happen now?
Well, think about it. Was it you? No, it wasn't you. Someone else was just telling me there was a couple. Maybe it was my friend Denise. Um, their fire insurance was canceled just 2 weeks ago. So
No.
their house burned down. It's my friend Denise's friends. Um,
Were they in the Palisades or the? Oh,
Palisades.
okay.
So we're talking really expensive area to rebuild, right?
Yeah.
They have no fire insurance now. They lost it 2 weeks ago.
And I've heard on a lot of the stations and talk, and today with the president and uh, our mayor and governor and all these people talking, you know, thank goodness people in the media that were there to ask questions, they were coming out with those questions, saying, look, California right now is really hard for people to get insurance
It is.
because every single company is looking for a reason not to. So it is a catch 22, which I'm sure it's the same for people that live, in the Midwest West in Tornado Alley, or the people that are in the hurricane and flood zones. It's kind of the insurance is going to say, well, we can't insure you because you're in this zone or that zone. And the last few years for Californians have been bad because of the fires. So they keep mapping out more and more areas. There's literally going to end up finally being like a little zero dot for people to be able to live in
It
and
just
get
doesn't make
insurance.
sense. Our neighbor across the street, Terry, her insurance company, she's never used it ever, a claim. And, she bought that house, what, for
Mm-hmm.
$18,000? How many years ago? So she's been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped her from house insurance. They gave her 10 days to find a new one. She's like, what?
What are you supposed to do in that
Because they
case?
don't want to. My friend Denise and Jason up in
But what
Burbank,
was the reasoning? Like, what I don't understand is like, what was their reasoning for saying, well, we're just going to
it's the whole
drop
thing,
you?
like the fire, and they don't want to cover it anymore. And I guess they're allowed to do that. My friends Denise and Jason
And
up
that's
at,
where regulation needs to come in. Something
totally.
needs to be doing about these companies, because to me, it's again going to where corporate America will take care of themselves and do what they're going to do for what's best for them. Yet these people have been paying in premiums and have been, if, like her not filing a claim. I mean, I haven't had to file a claim,
Yeah.
knock on
Yeah.
wood, for anything. And so as soon as there's one claim, and I read an article where someone said they had one claim they filed, and then after that, after the insurance company paid it, done. They dropped them.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some type of regulation or something put onto these companies that you can't do this because you've been collecting premiums from people for how many years? And now you're going to be like, oops, we actually had to do our job, so we don't want you as a client anymore.
So listen, how much do you think homeowners insurance in Burbank, my friends Denise and Jason, they do live up on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think they, and no other insurance company will do it? There's only one. So they're stuck with this one,
Mm-hmm.
whether they like it or not. It's the only one that will insure. They're paying $12,000 a year for homeowners insurance.
That's more than a lot of like property taxes
Yeah.
that people are paying. So basically, you're expected to pay as much as you are in a property tax for your insurance.
I,
And and the thing, that's what you want to strangle somebody. You get to a point where you're like, this is why people lose their shit.
yeah.
Because how are you supposed to sustain that? And I don't know about you, but just in the past 2 years for us, it's gone up almost three times what it was from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I made a call and said, why is this happening? And they said, well, people are filed, we had more claims filed for fire insurance and auto because we've had more people, getting in auto accidents and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I haven't. So why are the people that are basically trying to make sure they're doing the good thing and not having to file unless they have to or getting into accidents or anything like that are getting punished because there's a certain group of people that are using it or heaven forbid have to because
Right.
of fire insurance type things, and you're just kind of like, well, you know what, we're going to jack up your rates by three times because then people, and I said this to the insurance company, I said, you do realize you guys will then go under and out of business because nobody except for the 1% richest of the rich are going to be able to afford this stuff. I mean, how are people supposed to take care of their houses and be able to be driving around if you guys are like, well, we're just going to keep jacking it up so you can't afford
Well, I
this?
just got my renewal for my car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been with the same insurance company from since I was 16 years old. I have never had an accident.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a ticket. I've never filed a claim. So we're talking a lot of years. We won't say how many years, but it's a lot of years
Yeah.
where they've been collecting. Well,
And a lot of like
and it's
little
and
positive stars for you because you haven't had anything on
right.
there.
And I won't say the name, but it's the one where the commercials say, "Well, the longer you're with us with no claims, it goes down or whatever."
Oh,
That's my
bold faced liars.
It's going up and up and up. It, like you were saying, it's over tripled, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, over the last couple of years. I just got it, me by myself, one person,
Uh-huh.
never having an accident, never a ticket. It's something like $5,400, $5,500 a year now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money.
That's a shit ton of money.
Stupid.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get it.
It's like they're just taking advantage.
Yeah.
It's just, and like I said, there needs to be regulation that steps in to govern these entities and these companies to say this is, you cannot do this to people. People cannot sustain this.
Well, it scares me too. Could you imagine like health insurance, with the new administration going in, there's a lot of talk they want to take away
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things, and one of them is pre-existing conditions.
Mm-hmm.
They take pre-existing conditions away. Can you imagine dropping people?
Mm-hmm.
Like my friends whose daughter's 24 and suffering these rare kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
They took that away. She'd never be able to be insured. She's 24
Well,
years old.
and
Those she's had 13 surgeries. It would be millions of dollars it will cost her over her lifetime.
yeah.
So,
And the sad thing is that gets to be really hard. People can't do that. People go into catastrophic debt or lose a life.
there was one night my friend Denise, she came by and I was like gray in color. She goes, "I'm taking you to the emergency room."
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "Well, let me shower first." so,
I may
so,
be dying, but I need a minute before I die. Okay.
so we go and we went to the hospital that your mom passed away in,
Mm-hmm.
and Saint whatever, we won't say the name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I go in, and they took me right away because I guess if it's a heart attack kind of thing,
It's like a priority.
yes. So
Mm-hmm.
they test you and everything. They're like, "No, you're fine." And I was really like, I was like, "Oh my god, my life is going to be over." In my head, I was like, "I'm dying tonight," kind of thing, and it wound up being, oh, just stress and anxiety, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Stress and anxiety, really? All right. So we go home. I get the bill.
Mm-hmm.
The bill was something like $9,000 that I had to pay. And I was like,
Wait, but then how much was the entire bill? That's what
I
I.
don't know.
It's like if they were expecting you to pay nine
It was.
thousand.
And I I called and I was because there was a charge there. It was like $6,800, and I didn't understand what that $6,800
Mm-hmm.
was. I called and they were like, "That's just for walking in the door because we have all the equipment. If something should have happened to you, you would have had everything at your disposal." I was like,
But I didn't use
"Use it all
anything.
like you didn't need to." Yeah, but that's a fee that's charged just for
Oh
that
my
reason.
gosh.
So, well, we could do a payment plan if you want, because I didn't have the money. And I was like, what? And I did. It took me years to pay that off. I was paying, I think, $120, $150 a month, and that took me forever to pay that off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was screaming at the lady on the phone. I was like, I know it's not your fault, but do you realize that if when I need to go to the hospital now, I will not
That you
go?
don't want to because you can't afford to have another bill like that pile up on
Yeah.
you.
So, like, if they take pre-existing conditioning things away from people,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to want to go to the doctors. You
Mm-hmm.
won't go to the hospital in case of an emergency because it's going to cost you a fortune.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so many people don't get the care they need
yeah,
and don't take care of themselves. And that's like something like I worry about with a lot of these people too that are now displaced because they have nothing, maybe a bank account, but anything that they had within their home, anything of value, anything that meant anything is gone.
gone.
And it's so frustrating to see certain things also that happen around this situation. So I'm sure you've seen some of the reports where we luckily here in LA we had a DA we weren't too happy with. We now have a new one. He actually spoke today because before it was a very soft on crime policy, which a lot of people in the city hated. And it's the, oh, if it's not over a certain amount, I think it was $950, then you get arrested, you go in, and then they kick you right back out on the street. And what are they doing? They're going back out and doing the exact same thing. So now this he got up and talked today and they said, we are gonna have people patrolling, and they did already arrest some people last night who are taking advantage of the situation, of the fact that people aren't there. And the thing that happened yesterday morning, and I was like, Phil, do you believe this? Do you see this happening on the TV? Is there's a news reporter out on the street reporting and saying, oh, yes, people will be prosecuted. They are going to crack down on people who are looting. And right behind her are two little guys
Carrying
running
something.
who were looting houses in the neighborhood. And you can tell they had on the backpack, they had a mask on, they had no business being in this neighborhood because everybody was evacuated.
Right.
But that's what's happening. Now these people are swooping in and looking for opportunities where maybe there's something within the rubble. Or the thing that I didn't like is a lot of people who are being evacuated are being told evacuate, leave your door unlocked. I mean, right there, it's like oh, hey, here's a buffet. Come
Right.
and help yourself to whatever I have. I'm like, it's already bad enough that you're leaving your home and terrified you're not going to come back to it. But then you're going to have to come back to it if it's there and be like, well, half of my really nice stuff is gone because some opportunistic piece of shit decided to come in
Yeah.
and rob my house.
Well, I
So
saw the DA's him speak this morning,
today, yeah,
and I thought it was great, and I was
yeah.
really happy. Going back to when we had the old DA and
Mm,
people looting stores and things like that. Friend of mine, she is at a fancy workout wear kind of place. You probably know the name.
mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh, there's a bunch of them,
starts
and
with
I
an
can't,
L.
I can't afford them,
No,
but
right. So she was there and she was
love Target, by the way.
exactly. She's buying stuff. She's at the counter and she says, these people walked in, these kids, just took all this stuff, like a whole group of them. There's a security guard at at the front of the door and just walks out, and then they're across the street divvying up all the clothes that they stood. And my friend goes like to the security guard, aren't you going to do anything? Oh, we're not allowed to.
Yeah.
We have to let them go. So my friend says, well, should I just walk out with my clothes that I'm
Mm-hmm.
buying here? Like, What the
Yeah,
heck?
because I'm actually purchasing it and paying state tax on it and trying to do the right thing. And yet these people are allowed to just
It just blows my mind.
steal.
And then they didn't even run away. They're across the street
Hmm.
divvying the
Yeah,
stuff up like no one's doing anything.
because there hasn't been anything that has happened because they get away with it and they know. So that's why, like, it will take some time, but hopefully with this new DA and changing the laws and maybe letting the police do their job and basically apprehend these people and catch them and do what they need to, it will slow it down because it's just astounding when you see it happening and you're like, why is nobody doing anything? Like, how is this okay?
Yeah.
And it's been happening a lot, especially in this city and around neighborhoods where it's also like the break-ins, like in the middle of the day, like people catching it on the ring cameras. And I know you work from home, I work from home, like a lot of people do. So it's almost like you're also in danger now because of what these people are willing to do. You don't know if they're armed or not armed. You got to be able to protect yourself. So the laws have to change. And this is a horrible situation for people who've lost their homes to be in, but also maybe it's going to be an opening for them to start cracking down on this because it is disgusting when you see that they're willing to do this to people who have basically lost everything. And I said to Phil this morning, I said, you know what they should do? Bring back the colonial days of the
Cut their
stocks.
hands off.
Oh, woo! You're even worse than
I,
me. But I was like, bring back the stockades, line them up in a town square, put them in the stockades, let people like throw things at them in, public humiliation. Like, if this is what you're going to do, then pay a price for
did
it.
I send you the thing? Neighbor 2 doors down.
Uh-huh.
Um, the girl sends me a
Oh, it was
text.
the kid that
Yeah,
took the
stood on
camera
the
down.
garbage can, took the camera down off of her house
Yeah,
so they can rob right across the street,
and
but
not get caught
and
on the
not get caught
camera.
on camera. But his face was so good. She posted that everywhere.
And I don't understand why more people don't do that here.
Loved it.
When you've got a clear picture, you just go down to Kinko's or
Because she was like,
Staples.
little piece of shit thug. Like she really went off. And like it was everywhere. Like
Hmm.
I saw it on the neighborhood apps. I saw it. She put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
She goes, everyone keep your eye out for this person.
You know what? Not only that, just start like getting some printout flyers, like when people have lost dogs and stuff, and just start nailing it to like posts
Because
around the
his face
city
was real clear
because if
too.
someone's going to know him,
Yeah.
someone's going to catch on. So it's like, go ahead and start doing that
And he was
because,
young because she was like,
oh, he was like a
school
kid.
teachers, da 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 da.
Hmm.
Do you recognize this? This one of your students?
Yeah.
Get this thug off the streets. I freaking loved it.
Good for
Yeah,
her.
no, I loved what she
I mean,
did.
that's what needs to happen. People need to
Yeah,
start like playing hardball a
yeah.
little bit more with this stuff. And it's our situation right now in California is horrid, and frankly, the Palisades area, it's just like, what was it? Only a matter of, it feels like only a few months. It may have been longer. I may be speaking out of time frame here, but that Maui, that Lahaina burned, and that entire community and city, and I feel like that's what we're dealing with times four,
Yeah.
because now we have that happening in four different areas here where it's just entire neighborhoods and entire communities
I couldn't believe like
are gone.
Malibu right on the beach, like all
It's just
gone.
charred. And that, like I said, that's like Lahaina in Maui. And they're saying, people are calling and offering condolences. And I said, yeah, because Maui knows what it feels like. Maui was just there.
Yeah.
Of course they do. Anybody that's been through the natural disasters are like, hey, we're with you. We feel for you. And it's kind of like, instead of pointing fingers and trying to talk about what happened, what didn't happen, what about the water, what about this and that, start looking at what you can do.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, if anybody has a big warehouse or whatnot, a la, not a la Amazon, because I'm sure that's like monumentally huge, but have a place so that people can bring dry goods and foods. And I was thinking of it today, like, I love Clueless, one of my favorite movies. I
Mm-hmm.
love Alicia
That's
Silverstone.
Silverstone.
She's so cute in that, and there's so many great lines from that. But there was a hurricane. It was the Pismo Beach Hurricane Relief Fund, and she's walking downstairs and keeps coming back and forth with all this stuff. And her dad looks up from the table doing work and goes, "Sharon, what are you doing?" I don't think they need your skis. And she's walking about with her skis and tennis racket. She's like, Daddy, I'm the president of the Pismo Beach Relief Fund. These people have lost everything. Do you think that doesn't mean athletic gear?
I love it.
And I'm like, and she's right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like create a space so that donations and people that want to help have a place for it all to go, but that encompasses almost everything because she's right. Cher is right in the movie. Like people have lost everything. So, it's January. It's the time for people, to purge. Get a jump on spring cleaning. Get a jump on spring cleaning.
Uh, I'm trying. I'm doing
I
good.
was going to
I've
say,
gotten rid of a lot.
okay, because I'm sure you got quite a bit of stuff. And
Like,
just,
why don't they let people go to Goodwill and all the stuff that we've
I
donated, which is
know.
like tons and tons of shit, like let
Yeah,
people just freaking
let
have it.
people go and find stuff and get stuff because there's good stuff there.
Real good stuff there.
But
I would go in and I would like I took so much. It was like 17 trips one day, and I was like, now this is really expensive, so make sure you keep it
put it
together
in a
because this
good
is a
section.
set. Like I was like, like
But that's the stuff people are going to need. And it's kind of like, you can't predict anything. Obviously, nobody predicted or would have been able to say this was going to happen. But, to have those spaces for everybody to bring that stuff and, you know, go ahead now, purge your house, do the early spring cleaning and pull things out and be like, here's a soup maker that I've never used
right,
because I just pop a can and heat it in the microwave. So take that soup maker someplace where someone can have it because I can't even imagine everything people have lost right now.
yeah,
You have an old vehicle, or if you had a few vehicles sitting around and you're able to donate one, then donate. Hopefully there'll be a mechanic if anything was wrong that can get it fixed and offer it to someone because all the vehicles were insane to see that had burned up. But then
fried, yeah,
all the cars of people that had to jump out of their cars and run because of the fire and they just left their cars sitting on the street. And I don't know if you had seen that. I don't know if anybody
where
could
they
hear
took
it.
like a bulldozer and just
Yeah.
plowed all the
And
cars.
right now, there go a bunch of
Yeah,
ambulances and fire trucks in the background. But yeah, that they took these giant bulldozers and bulldozed the cars off of the road off to the side because they needed the fire trucks and emergency services to get through.
yeah,
So all these people now also have damaged cars. So and it's not just homeowners insurances, and then there goes the car insurance again.
yeah,
It's not anybody's fault, and it's not anything anyone can control or do anything about.
yeah,
That's what's frustrating is the advantages that are trying to be taken from people that really have not done anything.
yeah. It's awful. A cute story about just like helping someone out, homeless or whatever, not about the fire or anything. A few years back, I would drive to work and always off the freeway exit, there was this older guy who had a guitar and he's just strumming away and happy. And he's not even like asking for money. Like he's got his little thing out there, but it wasn't like he was going up to cars. He was just like the happiest little dude, like
Hmm.
just strumming his guitar. And every single day, every morning I saw him. And then all of a sudden one day I'm going and he's just like sitting there like this, like all sad. And he's like,
Oh,
and then it's like, oh, I wonder what's wrong with him. And then he had a sign the following day that said, someone stole my
I was
guitar.
gonna say, please don't tell me something happened to his
Someone stole
guitar.
my guitar.
How horrible!
Horrible. So I was like, oh, this poor little dude. Just because he's never gone up to a car. He's always
Yeah,
just happy in his own
just
little
playing
world,
his music.
So, well, me. Like, oh, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. So let me buy 3 guitars, because, oh, I need this kind and I want this. And I was like, how nice would it be if I just took one of these guitars, which I haven't used, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? And I was driving, I had the guitar in the back seat
Hmm.
and I had the stoplight and I rolled down my window and he was just all sad there. And I'm like, sir, excuse me, sir, sir. And I stick the guitar out and he came up and he was like shocked. And I was like, here, this is for you. The happiest little dude. He got back up
Aw,
and he's just strumming along and everything
aw,
like that. And then he
aw.
just disappeared off the face of the planet. But it was like, I felt so good
Maybe because
that
somebody
I
took his guitar from that area where he was just sitting, and he's just like, I got a new guitar, I'm gonna go find a new location
Or he went
where
and
no one
sold
is
it
gonna see.
somewhere. But I was so happy. But you know, like how good it made you feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I should have videotaped it and posted it
No,
because it would have made
no,
me like,
because
oh,
right now we're
because
gonna
I
talk
hate
about
when people do
no,
that.
and that's one thing I was also gonna say. Like I was gonna talk to you about today because it's like that is also with our situation out here is something that is annoying the ever loving hell
Oh,
out of me. Or if there's videos, I let the news people show it because that's their job. That's what they do. Or if it's someone that they are sharing, like a guy that I had worked with in the past, another editor who had a home in Palisades has lost his home. So he was sending out Instagram and Facebook messages, like sharing, the fact that his home is gone, and he's very like calm about it. And I think he said he's because every now and then he'll post things in a way to he goes, I know it sounds like I'm laughing about this situation, but I don't know what else to do right now because there is nothing to do. And
hmm
I felt really bad because you see his house, and I've worked with him on multiple projects, but I knew how much work he had put into this house too. And he's like, we bought this house. It wasn't the greatest in the neighborhood, and we fixed it up. And so, what they say, look for a nice neighborhood, buy the cheapest house, and you fix it up. So I know how much work he had put into it. And he also is, a lot of us were forced to work from home and be remote when the pandemic happened. And then everybody's like, oh, wow, people can work from home. We can save money. Let's do this. So a lot of people have turned part of their home into their studios.
hmm
So these people aren't just losing their homes. A lot of people also lost their offices. They lost their work, their livelihood. So it's a double hit and a double-edged sword. But then to have people who are influencers or social
Oh,
media or out there
yes, I hear
trying to
that.
film it and turn it into something that A is not personal to you. So I feel you really don't have a right to be showing it. The stories I want to see, like I said, are from the news or from people who are directly impacted or are trying to help people. There was a I think it was on the news when we were watching it, but a group of guys in one neighborhood that saw a palm tree. I don't know if you saw that was on fire, throwing off embers, which could have caught a lot of other houses on fire. And they went, and the one guy said he saw a fire in the person's backyard, and then all of a sudden the person, they weren't at home, they evacuated, but they saw on their ring camera and started talking about, hello, we see you there. And he's like, look, I'm just here. There's a fire in your backyard, but your palm tree's on fire. So do you mind if we use your hoses? We're going to try and put it out so that it doesn't catch your house or anyone else's on fire. And then it ended up being this group of like 5 or 6 guys that were using the ladder, the homeowner's hoses, turning on the water, and they got it out. So they probably saved that person's house
House,
and
yeah.
the houses that were surrounding it. Like, those are the stories I want to see. Those are the
Right,
things. Go ahead and film that because that is someone doing an act of heroism, in my opinion.
right, yeah.
But people that are out there wanting to get their
Oh,
clicks and
yeah.
and just
It's.
show stuff when it's not your pain, it's not something you've lost. I feel you should not be trying to bank on that.
I can't imagine losing everything like these people did, like with no time just to run out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, my uncle lived in Pennsylvania, my mother's uncle, my great uncle,
Mm-hmm.
along the Susquehanna River. And like the river's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there were like these steps that went up and then land, and he had a cabin here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like cornfields because it was a cow farm, cornfields, and it went up, and the highway was here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very big distance. You would never believe that water can flood so quickly.
Wow.
He only had time, like the water was coming up so fast. He grabbed his dog under his arm and ran up the hill. He watched his house. I don't know how it comes on ajar or whatever. He watched it float a little bit and then it hit something and burst into like a million pieces. Could you imagine like watching your home like that? That to lose everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just if you saw the distance and how much water that would have
Yeah.
to be that did it, like it's crazy
It's
to
like when
me.
you think of countries and places that have suffered tsunamis,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like I mean, there's disaster movies aplenty for us to watch, and you're kind of like, oh, it's just exaggerated. But when you actually look at some of the stuff, it's not. And in that moment, like if you're watching a film and you see that how people are reacting, I mean, that is real
Yeah.
because people are in mass panic.
What was that movie?
There was the
Um,
day after tomorrow. It was everything. It was winter
it was about the
storm,
tsunami and
tsunami. It came through New York, and
yes, I mean I've
yeah.
seen that one a million times.
Oh,
But
there's like so
what
many.
the one the true story about like the Philippines somewhere, or was it
Oh, I don't
Philippines?
remember that
Yeah,
one.
you do. Indonesia.
Uh huh.
The model who got her boyfriend got killed, and
Mm-hmm.
you know
Know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name
that
of it.
movie was just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, like how people were just like broken and carried away, and
Yeah. Yeah. And people think it's just Hollywood, it's just the films, but actually when you have to be in a disaster,
yeah,
it really is what's happening.
yeah,
And to put yourself in that place, it's just, and I'm trying to like wrap my head around because so many people on the East Coast and people that we know who've contacted are so panicked. And I think in a way their panic started making me more panicked
right.
about it because it's like, oh wait a minute, it's making all this news back there and everybody's so concerned because like I said, everybody thinks that we're all lumped together in like this one
Like
place and
LA
they
is
don't,
this big.
yeah, they don't understand that, you know, you could spend an hour and a
Yeah,
half driving from one end of LA to the other, but it's
3 miles.
for 3 miles, hour and a half, 3 miles. But it is really scary when you don't know, and when power goes out and some people have lost cell service and they've got people trying to reach them. And I am on a group chat, my friends like to like send lots of things. I get really annoyed after a while and I'm like silent
Yeah,
because it's just like ding 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 ding. I'm like, put it all in one text,
right.
tell us everything. I don't need line by line what you're thinking and what's going on. But a lot of them were on it and I was just like, I can't handle it. So I had silenced it. Well, then they all started worrying because they're like, we haven't heard from you. Are you okay? And it's kind of like, okay, I got to remember to be conscious because they are, you
Yeah.
know, they're worried about
There's
what's
people still
happening.
without power. Just Lancashire.
Really?
If you drive down Burbank here,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the lights out still. Like,
Still?
yeah.
Because the night, okay, so all the fires started, we had them 2 days ago starting. And Phil and I had gone to the movies. We went to go see the new Bob Dylan movie.
Oh, how
And
was it? We
I
didn't get to
can't I
finish it.
can't tell you because we didn't get to finish it. But we're in the theater and all of a sudden like the projector went dark, but the sound was still on. So in the little overhead lights were kind of still there and they were okay. They came up and they were like, "Oh, sorry, there was a surge, so the projector went down. We'll try and get it back up and put it back for all of you guys." We're like, "Okay, great." So we're all waiting. I sent Phil to go get me like a popcorn. I'm like, "Well, if you're gonna go to the restroom, get me a popcorn. Give me the kids pack because frankly, that is the greatest thing ever because
What's
it's
the
like
kids back?
you get like a perfect size popcorn.
That means it's small.
Well, yeah, but
Perfect size for me is the freaking this big.
for me, it's the perfect size. It's like the perfect size of
Oh, I'm
popcorn.
just a little dainty
Stop!
lady.
But you get a drink. But you not only you get the popcorn, you get a drink, and then there's usually like a tasty little candy or treat. And this time it's those little
Could you get
fruit chews.
refills of your popcorn at least?
I don't know. I haven't tried that.
Because like the
Maybe
big ones you buy and then you can get a refill. So what you got to do is eat it all before the movie starts and go
go
fill it
out
up.
and
So then you
refill.
have the whole other one. That's what I like to do.
But it was funny because he went. I said, "Yeah, give me the kids pack," and I thought like he wouldn't do it because he'd be too embarrassed to just be like, "I need a kids pack." And he came back with the little kids back for me, and
Oh,
it was so good. So we're sitting there and enjoying it, and the movie came back on, and they started it right from the place that it ended, and it starts going, and we're like eating, we're like, "Oh, this is great!" And then all of a sudden, complete darkness, boo! Everything went down, and at that point, they come in, they said, "Okay, folks, we're sorry, you have to evacuate the theater," and I'm like, "Okay," and these guys that were sitting in front of us, it was kind of fun because in a small way before it went down the second time, we had made a little community of the people around us talking. The guy next to us was a sound guy from Burbank, and these three younger guys were in front of us, and we were talking. The one guy's like, "Yeah, it's crazy how windy it is outside right now. And I just saw a piece of
yeah,
scaffolding fall off of the one building over here and down." And I'm thinking, are we going to make it out okay? And then when the power went down, they're like, "You all have to leave." And we walk, and it was like a movie. It
yeah,
was like an epic movie with the wind blowing and everything. And I told Phil, I said, "Okay, hurry up, run down the stairs to the parking garage so we can get in the car and get out of here because you don't know what's flying around." And on the way home, there were just trees that were broken down in the street. I mean, just like hurricane.
They're like, I filled up my bin. The next
Hmm.
morning, I filled it all up. I'm like, darn it, my bin. I'm gonna need your bin again. But yours is probably
You
filled up
probably
too.
can't even use mine because if you see, like, the gardeners were not even able. Oh, that's you.
It's on silent, but it must be an
It's an
emergency.
emergency. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos.